Imagine this. You drop off your baby at daycare in the morning. He's smiling, giggling, and full of life. You kiss him on the forehead, hand him over to the caregiver, and rush off to work, comforted by the thought that he's in safe hands. But just a few hours later, you get the kind of phone call every parent dreads. The daycare calls in a nervous, shaky voice. Something's wrong. Your baby isn't moving his leg. He's crying non-stop. We think you should come right away. Panic sets in. The mother in this case drove faster than she ever had in her life. When she reached the daycare, she saw her baby lying on the floor mat, crying, his tiny legs swollen and red. He wasn't just fussy, he was in excruciating pain. An ambulance rushed the child to the hospital. Doctors took X-rays, and the results shocked everyone. The baby had a fractured leg. How does a 1-year-old baby end up with a broken leg in daycare? The mother cried. He doesn't climb stairs. He doesn't run. Someone had to be careless. The hospital confirmed it wasn't a hairline crack or a small bruise. It was a clean break that would require weeks of treatment and a painful cast for a baby who couldn't even understand what was happening to him. When the mother demanded answers, the daycare's explanation was vague. They said another child might have bumped into him or fallen over him, but nobody seemed to know for sure. That wasn't good enough for the mother. She knew her child had been perfectly fine when she dropped him off that morning. Now, she wanted accountability. And so, she brought the daycare to Judge Judy's courtroom where excuses don't survive, and the truth always comes out. The stage was set for one of the most emotional cases. A mother seeking justice for her injured baby, a daycare fighting to defend itself, and Judge Judy determined to uncover what really happened.
The tension in the courtroom was heavy as the mother took the stand. She clutched her folder of medical reports in one hand and nervously wiped tears from her cheek with the other. She began by telling Judge Judy about her daily routine. Every morning, she dropped her baby off at the daycare before work. He loved going, she explained softly. He would clap when we got near the building. I trusted them, but that trust shattered on the day of the incident. I dropped him off around 8:30 a.m., she recalled. He was perfectly fine. No bruises, no crying. He was laughing when I kissed him goodbye. Then, around noon, I got the call that changed everything. Her voice broke as she described racing to the daycare. When I saw him, he was screaming in pain. He couldn't even move his leg. His skin was swollen. I picked him up and he clung to me so tight, like he was begging me to take him away from there. She then held up the hospital's X-ray scans. These show the break, a clean fracture. The doctors told me this kind of injury doesn't happen easily. A baby doesn't just accidentally break his leg unless there's force involved or serious negligence. Judge Judy listened carefully, eyes narrowed, her chin resting on her hand. The mother continued, when I asked the daycare what happened, they said maybe another toddler tripped on him. But how does a trip cause a full leg fracture? And why didn't they call me the second it happened? They waited until hours later. My son was in pain all that time, and nobody did anything. That's what hurts the most. Her emotions were raw, her pain undeniable. She wasn't just demanding money, she was demanding recognition that her baby had suffered because of the daycare's failure. The audience in the courtroom shifted uncomfortably. Everyone could feel the mother's desperation. She had placed her child in trusted hands, only to find those hands careless. Judge Judy raised her eyebrow. All right, she said firmly. We'll hear from the daycare next. But I'll tell you right now, this is not sounding like a simple oopsie. A baby's broken leg doesn't happen by accident.
Now, it was the daycare owner's turn. Dressed in a professional suit, she walked up with a folder of her unincident reports, staff notes, and witness statements. She looked nervous, but tried to maintain composure. Your Honor, she began, We cared deeply about every child in our daycare. This was a terrible accident, but it was not negligence. My staff did everything they could. She explained that the baby had been crawling near a playmat where older toddlers were playing. One of the toddlers lost balance and fell right onto the baby's leg. It was quick, and there was nothing anyone could have done to prevent it. Judge Judy cut in immediately. And you're telling me no one saw this happen? The daycare owner hesitated. One of my assistants said she thought she saw something, but she wasn't sure if that was the moment of injury. Babies cry all the time. At first, he seemed fine. Judy leaned forward. Fine. A baby with a broken leg is never fine. You didn't notice until hours later. That's negligence. The daycare owner defended herself. As soon as we realized something was seriously wrong, we called the mother. We didn't want to overreact if it was just fussiness. We were monitoring him. But the more she spoke, the weaker her defense sounded. She admitted they didn't have cameras in the room. She admitted the staff-to-child ratio was stretched thin that day. And she admitted she didn't personally check on the baby until after the mother arrived. The mother, sitting across from her, shook her head in disbelief. Judge Judy wasn't impressed either. So let me get this straight, she snapped. You're running a daycare. You don't have cameras. You're understaffed. And when a child is injured, you shrug it off as fussiness. Do you have any idea how ridiculous that sounds? The daycare owner's face flushed. She tried again. Accidents happen. We can't prevent every fall. We acted responsibly. But Judy's glare was sharp enough to cut through stone. You didn't act responsibly. You acted carelessly. That's the difference. The audience buzzed with whispers. It was clear that the daycare's defense was crumbling.
Now came the part Judge Judy is most famous for, her no-nonsense interrogation. She turned to the mother first. You're telling me that your baby was perfectly fine in the morning? Yes, Your Honor, the mother replied confidently. Not a bruise, not a limp. He was healthy. And you have medical proof that the injury happened during daycare hours? Yes, the doctors confirmed it was a fresh break. It happened that day. Judy nodded. Then, she swung around to face the daycare owner like a hawk ready to strike. You run a daycare. How many staff members were in the room when this supposedly happened? 2, Your Honor, the owner said softly. And how many children? 8. Judy's eyebrows shot up. 8. 2 adults and 8 children under 3 years old. That's not supervision. That's chaos. And don't even tell me you didn't notice a baby's leg doesn't break silently. There had to be crying, and you ignored it. The daycare owner stammered. We didn't ignore. Judy raised her hand sharply. Don't talk over me. You ignored it. Period. The tension in the room skyrocketed. The mother nodded vigorously, tears rolling down her face, as Judy continued to press the daycare. You claim another child fell on him. Where's the proof? No video. No proper incident report. Just excuses. And worst of all, you didn't call the mother until hours later. Do you know how long a baby sat in pain because of your negligence? I'll tell you, too long. The daycare owner tried to defend herself again, but Judy wasn't having it. Don't you dare minimize this. If you can't handle 8 children with 2 adults, then you don't run a daycare. You run a babysitting. The courtroom gasped. Judy's words hit like a hammer.
Finally, the moment of truth arrived. Judge Judy sat back, eyes locked on the daycare owner. Here's what I know, she began. A healthy baby was dropped off at daycare. A few hours later, he had a broken leg. The daycare can't explain how it happened, can't provide proof of what they claim, and waited far too long to notify the mother. That's not an accident, that's negligence. The mother held her breath. Judy continued, You are responsible. You are going to pay for every single one of this baby's medical bills. You are going to pay for his pain and suffering, and you are going to compensate the mother for the trauma she's endured. Total judgment. 七千五百美元. The mother's face filled with relief. Tears of gratitude streamed down her cheeks. Justice had been served. The daycare owner lowered her head, defeated. But Judy wasn't done. She leaned forward and delivered one final blow. When parents drop their children at daycare, they're trusting you with their most precious gift. If you cannot provide safety, you have no business being in childcare. Close your doors or fix your system, but don't you ever stand in this courtroom again, telling me you didn't notice a baby's broken leg. The gavel slammed down, case closed. The courtroom erupted in murmurs as the mother hugged her baby tightly. She didn't just win money, she won accountability. She proved that her child's suffering mattered, and that negligence in childcare cannot go unanswered. For viewers watching, the lesson was powerful. Trust is fragile, and children deserve constant protection. One moment of carelessness can change a family's life forever. And in Judge Judy's courtroom, excuses crumble, but truth always stands tall.